unmute. I was muted. All right, everybody can hear me now. We want to go ahead and respect everybody's time today. And so I will go ahead and get started. We mainly wanted to just reiterate the expectations and the partnership that happens when students are learning virtually so that we can make sure that the students are getting as much as they possibly can out of the virtual learning experience. And so I want to start by saying that virtual learning only works if both families, students, and staff are both invested in that process. And what that means is that there needs to be clear understanding in regards to what are student and family expectations as far as the learning, and what are parent expectations, teacher expectations as well. And so I want to start off by saying that whenever possible, students need to make sure that they are on time for class. This is important because there may be some preliminary directions that teachers are giving to make sure that students are aware of what they need to do. Should a student join late, the student will have to just pick up where the teacher is, because what happens is if a student joins late, then the teacher has to go back to the beginning and kind of recap where the rest of the students are at. And so we ask that if a student joins late, that they join quietly. Then all lessons will be recorded, so so students can go back and view those recordings and catch the beginnings of those lessons. We also ask that students work independently whenever possible. And that students develop a system with which to ask you for help, so that there's not like constant interruptions between parents, students, and the lesson. We also would like to reiterate that everything that you will need will either be on the grade level website or the Google site for that class. This includes any materials that you will need and any books that you will need for that lesson. So please make sure that you're utilizing the stream that is on the main page of the Google site, Google Classroom, so that you can access information for that class. We also would like to ask that students make sure that they keep their cameras on during lessons. We understand that you need to turn them off for privacy reasons and want to make sure that we respect that, but ask that you keep the cameras on and off at a minimal if you can help it. Also, the learning environment that the student is in is also very important. And so we ask that you try to find a quiet place or a comfortable place for students to be able to learn. We've had some situations where students are like laying in bed, or the lights are dim, and so they can't really interact with students or the teachers for those activities or the lessons. And so we just want to make sure that students are focused 100% of the time and that they are able to interact with the lessons in a positive way. In addition to that, even though it is important for students to be on time and present for live classes, we also understand that there are extenuating circumstances that prevent students from being able to participate in live classes and or be on time for classes. In those instances, we ask that you communicate with the teacher so that they know that a child will be absent or they won't be present or late for that class, and that they access the recordings and make sure that they're submitting the assignments on time. Because assignment submission and attendance for class is how we are counting attendance for students who are virtual. We also ask that if you have a question about class, in particular to like academics, that you reach out directly to the teacher via email or their specified communication method. If there is an issue with technology, you can reach out to myself, Ms. Bernstein, or Kelsey, who sets up the websites so that they can assist you, or we can assist you with those technology issues. Also, we want to make sure that parents know that the microphones on the computers are very sensitive. And so if there's a side conversation that might not be appropriate for little's ears, that we ask that you just be mindful of that, because the lessons are being recorded. So anything that goes on in the background is also in that recording as well. I'm going to stop right here and see if anybody has any questions at the moment. Okay, no questions? All right. If you did not pick up your supplies for Q2 from either the middle school campus or the elementary school campus, you can pick them up tomorrow between the hours of 9 and 2. Just simply come to the front of either of those buildings to get what you need. Especially like if you need a Chromebook or if you need a hotspot, please make sure that you come to the school so that you can get whatever you need to be successful. Rachel, did you want to add anything in?
Yeah, I would love to just add really quickly into middle school specific. I think one thing that we've learned over Q1 with virtual learning is that our kids are incredibly intelligent and very creative. And so for parents who are either on the call now who have 5th through 8th graders or might be watching this later, the best place for 5th through 8th grade to be able to check in on the students' work completion, to know, how they were doing in class, is to go to that parent portal that we've shared for Jump Rope. And again, this is just 5th through 8th. And that will indicate missing assignments. When you check the Google Classroom, something may be lit up green as complete, but our kids have gotten real smart and figured out how to submit incomplete assignments that then look complete. And so I would just ask that you go to that Jump Rope portal as your number one, like that's your one-stop shop to know how your kiddo is doing. And then from there, you can go to Google Classroom to find those assignments. And I think that will be a lot less confusing for parents who, I think what we basically heard was that, we thought kids were doing a lot more than they were. And I just want to make sure everybody knows the most updated place to check for missing assignments for virtual students is going to be that Jump Rope portal. And if you have any questions about how to log into that portal or anything, you can reach out to me anytime. Happy to help get you set up with that. And there was a question in the chat for those of you that can't see it. System to be notified if a student does not attend class. We are taking attendance every day. And so if they're not coming to class, we are reaching out to families regarding attendance. I know that after one absence, you may not get an immediate phone call. And what I know we saw in the middle school is they will go to the classes that they wanted to go to. So they may not be marked absent for the day. And so Q2, where we have less students virtual, we are going to be trying to do more outreach to let you know if students were here or not, especially if we start to see a pattern where they're maybe just missing math every day, because that's the one they don't want to go to. Yeah, Mr. Douglas, unfortunately, that's a yes. That's something we saw a lot. And so we're definitely trying to get ahead of that. You can also always, if you have suspicions, you can always reach out to us or the teachers, and we'll be more than happy to let you know.
We had one question in the chat that said, my son is in 2nd grade and we received 2 schedules. Can we log in for either scheduled time? Oh, okay. Miss Amy answered the question. Miss Amy, you want to chime in?
Sure. So for this week, the schedule might be a little different than normal. And I will probably just go by one of those schedules and just have everyone in the same classes. But moving forward, you'll probably be assigned a schedule via last name. And then for this week, I'll be posting updates on the Google Stream to let you know about any like last minute schedule changes just for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yes. And once our shift is complete and we have a permanent teacher in our 2nd grade virtual role, then we will communicate with parents the more permanent schedule. Oh, she said, so when do we log in tomorrow for 2nd grade? So tomorrow for 2nd grade, you can log in at?
We'll still have foundations at 8:30.
Thank you.
And just a reminder to middle school parents, you're not logging in until Thursday. So if you try to log in tomorrow, there won't be anybody there. We start on Thursday. Cool. So Mr. Douglas had put a question about on the Google Stream, sometimes like assignments not having a due date. So they're not necessarily showing up as missing. So like Mr. Douglas, for fifth through eighth grade in particular, definitely check jump rope for that. And I'm assuming I'll let Kenya go for the second grader because I don't want to speak out of turn.
Right. So what I will do is I will reiterate with teachers that it's important to make sure there is a due date on there so that it shows up missing. That may have been a minor oversight on that teacher's part. And so I will make sure to communicate that when I send out the staff memo this evening after our phone call or virtual. All right.
Do any other families on the call have any questions for us? I think we really just wanted to emphasize that when students are in person, we can really wrap around and do a lot of support for them. But when they're home, if they don't log in or if they've turned off their camera and gone off mute, it's really hard for us to engage with them. And so we're just asking for your partnership to make sure that they're there as on time as possible with their camera on as long as that's possible. Again, if you need an excuse for that, if there's a circumstance that makes so your camera can't go on, just let myself or Miss Kenya know. We're more than happy to make an exception. We just want to know that it really is an exception and not just students, at least in the middle school world, just saying like, I can't turn my camera on today, because before you know it, all 20 kids have their cameras off, which is really hard to teach to a dark room.
Right. A parent asked, are there still office hours for one-on-one support? We saw that earlier in the year, but haven't seen it offered since. So yes, you are correct in that the current schedules do not provide for office hours because whereas when we were 100% virtual, we had teachers that were able to teach and then also provide office hours in the afternoon because they didn't have other obligations. Now we have students who are at school and students who are learning virtual. And so there is little time for teachers to provide office hours. However, if there is an issue that you're having, we ask that you please make sure you email the teacher because he or she may have some planning time that they can schedule with you to make sure that you get what you need or get your questions answered. Any other questions? Yes. So we had been planning to roll out intervention groups, but we're waiting for some additional data from student diagnostics. And so we are in the process right now of making sure we compile all that information, and we'll be rolling out intervention information soon. If you're supposed to be getting minutes outside of the regular intervention, then you can contact me via email, and I can put you in contact with Mr. Adam if you're speaking about a specific kind of intervention that your child was supposed to get that did not get. Are there any specific testing third graders should be prepared for? So as of right now, there are benchmarks that the third graders, actually two through fourth grade, at least in the lower school, will take benchmarks that are related to what they are learning in class. So it's not anything that they need to prepare for outside of school. Everything that they need to be successful, they will be learning like in class or on the computer through virtual learning. The other test that third graders and those in third through eighth grade take is the LEAP. And as of yet, we still have not heard that they will not take the LEAP. As of right now, we have heard that students in grades 3 through 8 will still take the LEAP. Any other questions? All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I want to thank you for your time.
Actually, there is a question I have. I'm sorry. I was trying to type it.
It's
My name's
okay.
Lori. I'm Thetis mom. I have
Yep.
a couple of questions. The first one is I've emailed this step to her a couple of times and I've never received a response. And the second, so what should I do in that case? And the second is what about this math intervention hour at the end of the day? I don't know whether or not Thetis is supposed to participate in it.
Right. So if Theta was supposed to participate or should have to participate, then she will get notification from her teachers either via email or an invite to that group through her classroom page. If Ms. Steptor is emailing you and you haven't received a response, you're welcome to email her again and then copy me, and I'm happy to follow up with Ms. Steptor.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I never get a notification for that. Mommy, I never.
He also
Okay. Um,
And just so everyone knows too, for virtual intervention groups, not every child qualifies for an intervention group. And so Ms. Kenya was talking about the initial diagnostic testing that we do. And if they qualify that they need a little bit more extra help, then they will be placed in a group and then they'll receive an invite. So if you don't receive an invite, chances are your student didn't qualify for needing that extra help, and that what we call tier 1 instruction, which is what they're getting in their regular math or ELA class, is enough. Because we are still doing a lot of like support within that core block. But if there's a concern about your student and you think they should be in an intervention and they're not, that's something that you can just reach out to for elementary to Kenya, or for me for middle school. But like Miss Kenya said, like intervention groups are just starting to get up and running because it definitely was a challenge to collect the same kind of data with students virtual over the first few weeks, but they should be coming soon. So if you have further questions about that, we can definitely get into specifics for everyone's own child. Just reach out to us. We're more than happy to answer those questions.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Wow, if nobody else has any other questions, we thank you for your time, and please reach out to us directly.
Wait, sorry, can you have one more question? When will we be asked to make the decision for Q3 about virtual versus in person?
So an email actually went out about whether or not you wanted to opt for in-person or remain virtual a couple of weeks ago.
For Q3?
For core 3, Q3.
Oh, for Q3.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Q3 or Q2?
Q3, yes. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
okay,
starting
I
Q2
apologize.
tomorrow, right? I was like, oh my God.
No,
So
no, no,
early.
no. I'm sorry. I apologize. So we have not sent that information out, and you can expect to get that information like at the beginning of December, so we can begin to plan, because the second quarter ends December 20th, I believe. 20th. I might have the
I
wrong
think
date.
the 18th is the Friday.
The 18th, yes.
Yep.
So Q2 ends on the 18th, and so we normally start planning about 3 weeks before the quarter ends, so that people have ample time to kind of see what's going on and feel out where their comfort level is for returning, and then we'll send it out then. So beginning of December is when you can expect to get that information.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any last takers? Feel free to come off mute or drop it in the chat. We'll give it another minute, see if there's any lingering questions.
All right. Everyone have a great evening, and please reach out to us directly if you have any questions that weren't answered or that are one-offs that don't apply to the group. Please reach out to us. Have a good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, thanks.